Hey everybody, it's Mr. Bear back with another exciting pack meeting requirement. Today we're going to be doing cooking. You guys heard me, cooking. So before we get started, you want to make sure that when you're cooking for other people or yourself, you are aware of their food allergies. Many people are allergic to things like peanuts, milk, any type of dairy, nuts. If you must, substitute said allergy with something else or just altogether make a different dish. Now, today we're going to be making a very popular breakfast pancake. They're called crepes. They taste like pancakes. The only difference is these can be rolled up and filled with either fruit, cream cheese, chocolate, cinnamon, anything you guys like. So, let's get started. First off, you're going to need two large eggs. You're going to need some sugar, some flour, milk, butter, not all of it, a bowl to mix everything in, and your measuring utensils. Now, cooking this is pretty straightforward. The only difference here is that this is a breakfast I like to make at home, so I can do this on the stove, or when we go camping, which is what we're going to try to emulate here. So, the most important thing is our stove. We need a stove to cook everything in. Otherwise, you can use an open fire up in the mountains. All right, so let's get started. Um, as you noticed, I have the stove set up, and that is because when I'm up in the mountains, I need to melt butter, which is actually what we're going to do for these crepes. So you're going to want to cut out 2 tablespoons from your butter stick. And if you notice, let's focus that in. Each segment is 1 tablespoon, so you're going to need 2 of these. So now that we have our butter in here, we're just going to lay it on the stove, let it melt slowly on low heat. Now please remember that as the butter melts, do not walk away from it. Make sure you're watching it until it's fully melted. You don't want to cause any sort of fires around you. And if you hear that bubbling, crackling sound, just give it a little shake. Now for the crepes themselves. You're going to want to grab your 2 eggs, crack them open, and put them in. Pretty simple. You're also going to need 1 cup of flour. I use these little containers. They'll tell you right on there, 1 cup. Just fill it up with flour. 1 cup of flour, nicely filled. Just dump it in there. Next, you need 1 cup of milk. It's the vanilla extract. Just half a teaspoon. Don't need much, but it gives it quite a bit of flavor. Next is half a teaspoon of sugar. And finally, the 2 pieces of butter we melted. Forgot to mention, once it's fully melted, you can turn off the stove and just keep it on there to keep it warm. But other than that, goes in. It's time to stir. Most of you guys can either use a spoon or forgot what this thing is called, but yeah. Yeah. Make sure you stir it all well. Make sure there are no lumps of flour in there. And yeah, keep stirring until you're done. Now, many of us, when we go camping, we don't really bring a lot of stuff. But that last cup we used to pour in the milk is what I'm going to use to scoop it out and put it onto the frying pan. Okay, so now we're going to start cooking. I've had this stove on for about 5 to 10 minutes heating up our pan. Um, since you guys aren't as experienced, I would suggest turning on the stove and heating up the pan once you've stirred up everything, you combined your ingredients. So what I like to do to test out the heat on my frying pan, take a nice small slice of butter, as you can see that, then just pour it on. That means it's pretty hot. I'm going to move it around. Make sure the butter covers the whole bottom of the frying pan. That's to prevent the crepes from sticking. If the crepes stick to the frying pan, you're going to have a really hard time because they're going to rip once you start trying to peel them off. So, like I said, you're going to take your mix, dip in your cup. It's not all full, that's okay. And you're going to gently pour it in. There you go. Flame is down to low medium. And just let it cook slowly. As it cooks, I like to gently play with the edges. Try and make sure those edges don't stick. So by now it should have been almost a full minute. That's when you can slowly start to take a look at what's underneath. So far it's looking pretty nice. We can flip. And there you go. Now we just need a plate. And now we have our second or third crepe ready. Done. Depending on how much batter you use to make these is how many crepes you're going to get out of these or this mixture. I get about 6. Depends on how big you make them or how thick you make them. That's up to you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this and learned something out of it. If you guys want to try it at home, go ahead. Make sure your parents are around just in case something goes wrong. And remember, guys, our Facebook page, facebook.com/LEAP, And yeah, feel free to throw some comments, questions, or have your parents call us if they need anything. I'll see you guys later.